Hi guys, and welcome to this other video. I hope you guys are doing great. So today in this video we are going to do the lab 2 or just said lab 3. We'll see how to install local CA certificate from ADDS. So we'll add that local CA certificate to an SSL inspection profile, security profile. Then we'll see how to enable it on a firewall policy so that users will check and will do a test on a workstation to ensure that the SSL inspection with the certificate is actually being applied on the user's workstation. So we'll do this on one workstation. Then after that, we'll see how to push the certificate to all the entire Active Directory through group policy objects. Then after lab 3, we'll jump on lab 4 where we'll do SSL VPN with LDAPS. So LDAPS, we are going to add an LDAP server on our FortiGate with the LDAPS option with security secure LDAP. So we'll use a certificate here. We'll use a remote CA on this one. Then we'll see how to add a to configure SSL VPN users from Active Directory to the FortiGate. Then we'll do some testing. So before this video, in the previous video, where we started with this series of video on Active Directory and FortiGate firewall. So we saw the context we'll explain the context. Then we'll jump on we'll explain some of these use cases. So we also did deployment modes. We explain about architecture and hierarchy. So we did also this comparison between having an ADCS server on your premises versus buying certificates from a third party authority, certificate authority. We thought about prerequisite. Then we did also these two labs. So the first lab where we install the ADCS role on Active Directory and configure it, and the lab 2 where we enable HTTPS on our FortiGate using a certificate that was generated from from a CSR that was generated from the FortiGate, then certificate being provided by the ADCS. So we install it on our FortiGate so that we can secure administrative access to our FortiGate device. So the link to these other videos are under the description of this video. So today we are jumping on lab 3 and lab 4 to complete this series. So let's go directly on our environment on our lab to proceed. So here on our lab environment, so this is our ADCS server. So from here we have our certificate authority here with the issued certificate pending fail and so on. So what we are going to do from here is on this lab we need to export the CA certificate from the ADCS and install it on the FortiGate. So here, if you want to export the CA certificate, what you can do, being actually on the ADCS server, so what we need to do, you cannot export the certificate from here, like from the certificate authority here, or right clicking or going on all tasks, then doing like backup, restore, or renew. So you cannot export the certificate from here. What you are going to do is directly from this workstation, I can check for certificate. Let's say manage computer certificate. Okay, so this is going to launch the Microsoft the MMC. So I hit yes. So from here, what we are going to do is to go here under the personal folder. Then here under certificate, what we need here is to collect this certificate. So this is the root certificate authority certificate. So why we need to come here to get it, because pay attention that also from here, when users are connected to the web enrollment portal, there are also a possibility from there to export a certificate, right? So when users are connected here on the web enrollment portal, they have the options to request a certificate, to view the status of the pending certificate request, and here they also have an option to download a CA certificate. So if you hit here on download the CA certificate, you have the option here like to download the CA certificate on the one of these methods. So the difference between downloading the certificate from here and downloading it from the MMC portal here is that if you download it from the web enrollment portal, you will not have here you are simply going to have the CA file without the private key. While from here, if you are exporting from here, you will need to from here you have an option to get the CA and the CA file and the private key. So pay attention that in this lab what we will need to do is we want to add the certificate for SSL inspection, right? We need to add the certificate for SSL inspection. In the video related to SSL inspection, let me check. The previous video we did a few months ago, we explained that to enable the SSL inspection or full inspection, for example, you will need on the FortiGate device you need to install on the FortiGate device a certificate, a CA certificate that can generate public key, because when you enable SSL inspection on the FortiGate, you have, like, if a client want to access a website, there will be like two different sessions that will be created by the FortiGate. The first session will be between the workstation and the FortiGate. During this communication, the FortiGate is going to use its private key to authenticate or verify the traffic that comes from the workstation. So the workstation will be using a public key. Then the FortiGate will be using its certificate, the CA certificate private key. Then on the second session, FortiGate will need to generate a public key to communicate or to steer traffic to the destination and vice versa. So that's why on the FortiGate device, when you enable SSL inspection, the certificate that is being used here is a CA certificate, because with the CA certificate, you have the possibility to generate public key. So the CA certificate you install on the FortiGate device need to have its private key, so that with that private key, the certificate can generate a public key to monitor or to steer other traffic. So that's why on the FortiGate device, when enabling full SSL inspection, you need to install here a certificate which has its private key. So that was just to explain. So let's come back from here. Let's come back here. So here, what we need to do here, as I understand from where we need to get the proper certificate. So here, what I need to do is just right click from here, then I go all task. Then from here, I'm going to take the last option, which is export. So from here, I'll hit next. Then from here, they're asking, do you want to export the private key with the certificate? So I'll say yes. So hit next. So I'm exporting the certificate in a bundle. So the bundle will have both the certificate and the private key, and this bundle will be with extension .pfx. So it is the bundle that will have both the certificate and its private key. So from here, you can also take some of the other options here, like including all the certificate in the certificate path, export all properties, or enable certificate privacy. So it's all to you. So what I have here is good for me, so I'll just hit next. Then from here, for security purposes, you can either, for example, maintain assign the certificate to a group or users, so that only the users that are part of this group can use the certificate. You can also protect the certificate with a password. So what we are going to do here, we'll protect the certificate with a password. Then from here, the encryption algorithm that we are going to use is going to be the AES. So all is good so far. Hit next. So where am I going to store the file? On the download folder, I'll just call the certificate lab server 03-ca. Okay, so I hit save, then next. So this is the summary of everything. So I hit finish. So the export was successful, so I hit OK. So now on my workstation here, I have my certificate under download. So this is my certificate here. So what I need to do now is to go and install the certificate on the FortiGate device. So here under certificate, so here pay attention on the different categories here, as I mentioned in another video where we discuss about certificate, this certificate store. So you pay attention here that you have a section here for local CA certificate, another section here for local certificates, and you have a third option here for remote CA certificate. So these are the three default categories of certificate that we have here, and you need to understand where your certificate needs to be placed in order for it to be used on a particular service like VPN, DNS, or SSL inspection, deep inspection. So the certificate needs to be placed on in a proper category for it to work. So here I already explained this in the video in one of the previous videos we did a few months ago, but let me just give another simple explanation here. So here under local CA certificate, you have certificate that are installed here with their private key. So any certificate that you install here that comes with its private key, if it is a certificate authority certificate, then it will land directly under this category. Under local certificate, and when it is under this category, you can use this certificate under SSL inspection. Only if the certificate is under this category, and then you can use it under SSL inspection. Here under local certificate, these are the other certificates that you generate for use in many other services like HTTPS to secure HTTPS on the FortiGate. You can also generate multiple certificates like for VPN and many other services. Those certificates will land here under local certificate category. Then below here you have another certificate, category, which is remote CA certificate. So here, these are the CA certificate that you can install. These are the CA certificate that you can install without their private key. So for example, if you collect a certificate directly from here, if you collect the CA certificate from here, as I explained, it does not have a private key, then you install on your FortiGate, the certificate will land under this category. So when it lands under this category, you cannot use the certificate under SSL inspection. You can use it maybe, as we'll see under in the next lab, we'll see how to use it here instead on the LDAPS. So that's where we need this remote CA certificate. So we'll see how to use this option when we'll be on the fourth lab. So apart of this, you also have another fourth option, which is remote certificate. So you have here remote CA certificate, then you have another category which is remote certificate. So same here as you have local CA certificate and local certificate, you also have here remote CA certificate, and there is another category which is remote certificate. So you need to understand where your certificate needs to land for it to be used in the proper service. So what we are going to do from here is we are going to select here create new. Also pay attention that from here you have like a lot of options from where you can install or create a certificate. You have this first option here which says certificate. So like from here you have like three options. This first one we saw it in another previous video, how to use let encrypt to generate a certificate. The second option here is to generate a certificate using the Fortinet CA certificate authority. So this is another way to create a trusted certificate, because you have two options here to create trusted certificates, either using let encrypt or use generate a certificate that is being self-signed by the CA certificate of Fortinet. So you have another third option here, which is to import an existing certificate. So you can go from here, say import. So here you have also three options here. So first option here is certificate file. If you have a simple file like a file without a certificate without a private key, you can take this option. If you have a certificate that comes with a private key like the one we just did previously, then this is the option that we are going to use. So the certificate here, you just have like one file which has both the certificate and the private key bundled together. So that's what we are going to use. So you select the key from here, you select the file from here, then you provide the password that you said when protecting the key, the certificates. So the third option here is if you have like a separated file, so you have a separate file for the certificate and another separated file for the key, the private key. So you have the option here. Sometimes when you buy the certificate from third parties, they can provide you both the certificate and the private key separately. So in that case, you need to use this other option. So so as I said, that is one of the option that you have here. We already talked about generating CSR in the previous video. So you have this other option here, which is to install a CA certificate. So if you have a CA certificate that you want to install, you have two options here. You can either provide online SCEP. So the online SCEP here is a link that will connect your FortiGate directly to the CA server and request the information directly from the server without you needing to generate a CSR or to get the file. But if you instead have the file, you can go directly from here and upload the CA file directly, certificate. Same thing here with the remote certificate. As I mentioned earlier here, you have under this category local CA, local CA certificate, local certificate. Then below you have remote CA certificate, and there is another option which is remote certificate. So in that case, if you have a remote certificate, you just come from here and select this option, remote certificate. So this last option here is certificate revocation list. So this is where if you want to upload a certificate revocation list so that your FortiGate is aware of the certificate that are being revoked. So this is where you need to provide that information. So for our case, what we are going to do, we are going here under certificate. Then we'll go here under import certificate. Then our certificate is a .pfx file. So it is a bundle of the certificate and the key. Certificate with key file. So this is what we are using here. So we select our certificate here, hit open. Then below we need to provide the password that we used previously to protect the key when protect the certificate when we were exporting it. So from here now, this is the certificate name. So this is the name that is going to display in the list of certificate here. So pay attention also here that So from here, you need to pay attention on the name that is here. So if the name is what you want to see on the list of your FortiGate devices, so you can customize the name here. Or if all is good for you, then from here, you just hit create. Then a few minutes or just few seconds, you still see the certificate has been generated. So all is good so far. So I hit OK. So directly from here, I can see now under local CA certificates, I have my new certificate here. So I have the certificate here. So that means if I go here under security profile, SSL SSH inspection mode, if I select any profile here, let's say I take the custom deep inspection, then here under CA certificate, we now see we have this option here, the new CA certificate is now available. So you may be asking, we have 3 certificates here under this option, but under SSL inspection we see only 2. It's because here this other FortiGate CA certificate is marked as untrusted. So as it is said untrusted, that's why under SSL inspection we don't see this other certificate here. So now that the certificate is being installed on the FortiGate, let's join the certificate on the on the security SSL inspection profile. Then from a remote workstation, we'll try to access a website. So remember, we explained that if you are enabling SSL inspection on the security, if you are enabling SSL deep inspection on the FortiGate, then a user who is trying to access a remote website, we have a warning message on its workstation, on his web browser when trying to access that server, because the certificate is not yet installed. As far as the certificate is not yet installed on the user's workstation, they will see a warning message on their web browser when trying to access a remote website. So let's try that. So here from our FortiGate, let's go on security profile and SSL inspection. So from here, we are going to use this one, custom deep inspection. So talking about security profile, we already did a couple of video on that for security profile. All those videos are on the channel. So if you want to watch all those videos, you can just go under the channel and check for the videos. So what we are going to do from here is, as I mentioned earlier, we are just going to select the CA certificate from here. So we are going to use this one, this lab CA certificate from here. So we'll just enable it. Then I'm not changing any information here. So all I will do is just hit OK. So now that it is actually enabled here, what I'm going to do is to go under firewall policies. So here under firewall policy, what I'm going to use is so I'm going to edit this firewall policy. So this policy is going from the internal 5 network to the 1 network. So all we need to do from here is simply to enable security profiles from here. So let's just say I'm just enabling this, maybe this for security profile. Then from here we are going to use this inspection SSL inspection method. This is going to be the custom deep inspection. So this is the one from which we added the we added the CA certificate, right? So I'm going to apply to use this one. So so this is the firewall policy. So here I'll just hit OK. So I'm going to get this warning that the SSL profile uses full SSL inspection. So end users will likely see certificate warnings unless the certificate is installed in their browser. So just to explain again, we mentioned in that other video that the full inspection, this is how the full inspection works. So when a user tries to access a remote server, the traffic is being decrypted by the FortiGate device. So if the packet reaches FortiGate device, the FortiGate device will decrypt the traffic. We scan the content to check if there is no malicious file or any code on the packet. Then if all is good, it will re-encrypt the traffic or the packet before sending it to the destination. Same process when the response comes from the web server to the network device, to the end user. So that's how it works for deep inspection. So that's why the user will likely get a warning if the certificate in the FortiGate on the FortiGate device is not yet installed on the workstation. So here we'll just hit OK. Then what we are going to do here is, so as I mentioned about this firewall policy, this port 5 to internet. So this is because on my work on my network here under interfaces, I have this interface here, internal 5, which has this DHCP. So users that are connected directly on this interface are using the firewall policy to access to internet. So I have here one workstation here. So from here, this is where we are going to double check. So let me check the IP of this workstation. Okay, 176.60.50.105. So that's one of the IP addresses of this of this DHCP server here. So next, what we are going to do here is we need to check if the certificate is already installed on this workstation. So here we are going to check the manage computer certificates, the MMC here. So before doing the test, what we need to do is just to double check that the certificate is not yet installed on this workstation. So we can check here under the trusted root certificate authorities. So normally from here you check, then from here you say below here we don't have the lab server 03 CA. So we don't have that certificate on this workstation as for now. So this is good for us. So what we are going to do here is we are going to go on a web browser, then try to access any website. So from here, what I'm going to do, let's just try google.com. Just try this. Okay, so immediately when I type google.com, you see you have this message, this warning as mentioned previously. So from here, if you try to go under advanced, you see that here, you see here that we don't have any option to go further. So if we don't have that certificate installed on this workstation, we cannot go further on this web browsing. So same here, if I try to go on any website, let's say coursera.org, same message. If you try I don't know, anything, facebook.com, see, same thing. So all the website that we try to access, we don't get access to it. So from here, if you check under this not secure here, you go here under certificate details. So from here, you will see that the star.facebook.com, which is a meta platform, is using a certificate that is actually issued by our the common name of the certificate is lab.server03.ca. So you understand that from here we are actually in this process. So from here we are actually in this process, in the process where this communication, this workstation wants to access Facebook, but the communication is being divided in two parts by the FortiGate device. So we are actually in this first part between the user and the FortiGate device, but the user don't have the certificate installed on its workstation. That's why the user don't have access to, it's getting the warning message. So that's why from here we need to install the certificate on the we need to install the certificate on the workstation so that this first session can work, before FortiGate can then proceed with the second session. So here what we are going to do, as I mentioned earlier, is that we are going to come here on the CA server. We exported the certificate here, so I'm just going to copy the certificate from this workstation. Then here on the workstation here, just paste the certificate here. So what I'm going to do to install the certificate, I'll just double click. I have like two options. So either I just double click, select from the current machine, just hit next. Then from here, this is the certificate I want to install. Then from here, just provide the password. Remember, this certificate is being secured by a password, so I need to provide the password here. I can also mark it as exportable from here. So hit next. Then from here, I need to select the certificate store in where I want to install the certificate. So I can also browse from here. Then I just select the trusted root certificate authority. I hit OK. Then going towards next, we'll then install the certificate in this store. Another option is if you have already launched the certificate MMC from here, You can also come directly here under the trusted root certificate authority. Then from here under certificate, you just right click, then you hit import. It is going to follow the same steps here and you have the certificate. So let's proceed, let's continue here. So I'll just hit next, finish. The import was successful. Okay. So now normally here, if I just refresh, now you see that we have now the certificate here is available now under trusted root certificate authorities. So normally here, if I go under my web browser here, so here this was Google. So from here, normally if I just refresh, this should work. Refresh. Okay. So now after refreshing, we now have access to our Google or any website that we try to access. So same thing here, just refresh. Now we have access to this website. So this was this is how you install the CA certificate on each workstation. But now so now pay attention that if you have multiple workstation on your infra, let's say like 100 workstation, so you will not need to install the certificate individually on each workstation for it to work. That will take much time. And another option that we need to provide here is to use Active Directory group policies. So here under your Active Directory, your ADDS server, you can proceed directly from here. So from here, what you can do is you go under tools, then you find group policy management. So assuming that all your workstation are part of the domain, so they are member of your Active Directory. So from here, instead of creating maybe a new group policy object, what you can use here is maybe using the domain using the domain the default domain policy. So from here, what we can do is just right click, select edit. So from here under computer configuration, you go under policies. So here under policies, you go under Windows settings. Under Windows settings, you go under security settings. Then from here, what you need to select is to get the public key policies. So under this, you select public key policies. So from here under public key policies, what you need to select here is the trusted root certificate authorities. So this is the folder where you need to provide the certificate. So here what you need to do is you just right click, then you hit import. So here I'll just go next. Then from here I'll select the certificate. Oh, I forgot to paste the certificate on this workstation. So let me copy it again from here. Then here maybe under desktop. Okay, just paste it here. Then again from here, let's close, then browse again. Then here I'll select all files. Okay, so I have my certificate here. Hit open. Next, provide a password. Mark it as exportable if needed. Next, then this is where I want to install the certificate. Then I hit OK, then finish. So the import was successful. So now I have these two certificates that will be installed automatically on users' workstation when they are connected. So to make it effective, you can either run from a workstation. You just go under CMD. Then you just do like gp update /force, hit enter, so that this will update the group policy object directly on that workstation for it to apply or to install the CA directly on the workstation. Or you can simply ask your users to log out from their workstation then reconnect again. So after reconnecting, the FortiGate or the GPO will update directly on their workstation and the certificate will be installed, and then they will be able now to browse any web content. So that is it for I think that is it for lab 3. Okay, so we did all the following. We push the certificate through Active Directory. So this is good for lab 3. So what we are going to do now is to jump and complete with lab 4. So here for lab 4, we are going to do SSL VPN with LDAPS. So what we need to do now is to to add DNS settings on our FortiGate device. Then we need to install the remote CA certificate. Then add a new LDAP server on our FortiGate device. Then we'll proceed with adding Active Directory group and linking it with the SSL VPN group from FortiGate. So let's jump directly on our infra again. So here directly from our Active Directory Certificate Service workstation or server here. So we are going to download the CA certificate from here. So I'll just hit here, download the CA certificate. Then here I'll click download CA certificate. So as I explained a few minutes ago, you understand the purpose of this certificate. So here, so here under certificate, under our FortiGate device, here under certificate, we are going to hit create or import. Then from here, we are going to take CA certificate. So I'll hit CA certificate. So here, instead of using the URL from here, I'll select file. Then from here, I'll hit upload. Then I'll take this certificate. As I explained, this certificate don't have the private key. So I'll hit open, then hit OK. Certificate was uploaded. So now, if I need to check the certificate, I'm getting the certificate here below under remote CA certificate. So this is the certificate that we are going to use for the LDAP. So you can see this is the name for the CA certificate and this is the issuer. So what we need to do now is to jump here on our Active Directory. So here under Active Directory users and computers, here I have an organization unit FortiGate. So from here I'm going to create like a new group. So I'll just call this FortiAD users. Okay, hit OK. So from here I'll just create like some two user account, then I'll add them to that group. So new user. Okay. User don't change the password and password never expires. Okay. Okay, so I have my two users, so I'm going to add the users in this group. So members of, so adding the users. Okay, so and I have this group 4080 users with these two members. So hit OK. So now I have the group now that is actually prepared for Active Directory. So what I need to do now is to jump back here under my FortiGate device here. So on my FortiGate device, what I need to do is to go under users and authentication. Then here what I need to do is to add an LDAP server. So here under LDAP server. So what I need to do here is I'll hit create new. So I'll just call this LDAP AD. So the LDAP server IP is the IP of my Active Directory server. So here, as we said, instead of using the default LDAP port, which is 389 for the unsecure LDAP, we are instead going to use port 636, which is the port for secure LDAP. So LDAP with S, so LDAPS. So that's what we are going to use here. So for common name identifier, either you are using the CN here or you are using the SAM account name. So I'll be using SAM account name here. So for the distinguished name, so the name of my so if I go here again under my Active Directory, you see that my domain name is lab.local. So here under the distinguished name, what I need to provide here is DC equal lab, then DC equal local. So this is it for my distinguished name. Then here this is not an exchange server. So bind type, so we are going to use a regular, so we'll provide a username here and a password that can authenticate this server, this FortiGate with the AD server. So we'll also select here secure connection. Then from here we'll take LDAPS. So taking the LDAPS option will require us to provide a certificate. So here under certificate, I'm going to select the certificate, the remote CA that we previously added. So this is it, the CA set 1. So this is the certificate that we added in the previous step. So I'm selecting this certificate. So normally from here, I just need to provide the information of the username and password. Then I'll hit here on test connectivity to make sure all is good. Okay. So from here, all is being tested and all is working fine. So we have a successful connection to our LDAP server. So from here, I'll just hit OK. So what we need to do from here is now to go under user groups. So from here, we need to create a new group that will be binded to the LDAP group that we created here on our Active Directory domain services. So from here, I need to go create new. So I'll be calling this Forti VPN users. So Forti VPN users. So this will be I'll take this, I'll collect the user from this group. The users for this group will be collected from a remote group. So from here I hit add. So from here I need to select my remote server, which is the LDAP that we added previously. Then from here, what we need to do is simply to navigate here and go under our FortiGate organization unit here. Then we select our 40 AD user group. Right click, then we say add selected. So add selected. So this is the group that is going to be used. So we just hit OK from here. So this is the group that is going to be used. For the users that are member of this group are also going to be member of the FortiGate VPN users. So just hit OK. So all is good with our group so far. So what we need to do now is to configure the VPN part. So all is to go here under VPN, then SSL VPN settings. So from here we enable the VPN. So from here, what we need to do is to select our one interface from here. Then also change the listing port here to 10443. So here under certificate, we can also select here the same certificate, the same HTTPS certificate that we are actually using to secure our HTTPS connection on this FortiGate device. So we can also use the same certificate here. So all the other information, I'll just leave them as they are. So here what I need to do is to map the authenticated user with the portal on which they can they can request access. So I'll just hit create from here. So I'll say the users who are member of the VPN users, they will land on the full access portal. So remember, the full access portal is where users can access the VPN through the tunnel access, which allows them to use FortiClient desktop app, or they can also use the web access through the web browser to access the VPN. So I'm giving them full access here. So I hit OK. So that's been said, I'll not go in details on these other parameters here. So I'll just these other settings here, I'll just leave them as default. So I hit OK. So VPN is being configured so far. So what we need to do next is to go under firewall policies. Then from here, we need to create a new firewall policy. So I'll just call this VPN to internal. So VPN users to internal network. So this is the remote users, external users who are going to access the internal network. So the incoming interface is going to be the SSL tunnel interface. So the outgoing interface here is going to be our one interface. So the source here, so for the source here, we are going to select first at all, we'll select all. Then we also need to include one user or group. As you can see, it is also mentioned here, one user or group is required. So here I'm going to go under users. Then from here, I'm going to select the VPN or the FortiVPN users that we created with LDAP membership. So I'll select from here. Then next, destination. So destination here, remember as I said, this is the VPN user. So when they'll be connecting to our FortiGate device, that will be to access the internal network. So from here, I've created this object, internal network here, which is the internal, which is linked to the internal network. As I show you the design previously. So this is the IP address of the internal network. So this is the network that the user will be getting access to. So that's it. So far, so services from here, for services we can give them access to all services. So I'll just hit all from here. So here below, what you need to do is make sure you disable NAT from here, because we don't need NAT on this policy. There is already NAT settings on the VPN that will take place when the user will be connected. So we don't need NAT on this part. So just make sure we disable NAT here. Then here under security profile, you can either decide to enable these following security profiles. Then you can also choose the SSL inspection method here. For example, you can select the deep inspection method so that when the users are connected through VPN, if they have to access they have to do any web browsing, they will need to have the CA certificate, as we saw in the previous lab. They will need to have that certificate on their workstation for the traffic to go through. So you can enable that also. Then if all is good, all we need to do from here is just to hit on OK. So what we need to do now is to jump on a workstation and proceed with the testing. I guess we've already done all added the LDAP server, created new AD group, set up and configure SSL VPN. Now we need just to connect on the workstation and test if the setting is working fine. So for testing purposes, so what we can do as we enable the VPN to work in the full access, so users can connect either through the web interface or through the Forti client. So we are going to start first with the web interface. So here I'll just provide the IP address of the FortiGate, then I follow by the port number. So from here we'll connect with the first user. So here I'll just provide the user's credentials. Okay, so our user is actually connected from the web portal. So we can also double check from a workstation. So on the workstation here, when you install your Forti client, all you need to do here is to add a new connection. So new VPN connection. From here, just provide the name, then the IP address of the FortiGate, public IP address of FortiGate, then the customized port. So all is good from here. Connection, I just provide yes, the second user. Hit enter. Okay, so you're actually connected with the second user. Yeah, so the second user is actually connected. So we can check these SSL connections by coming here under our FortiGate. Then from here, Forti SSL VPN. So here we just connect on the FortiGate. Then we go under Forti SSL FortiView SSL VPN. So from here you can see the two users that are connected, and from the connection type here you can see one is connected through the tunnel connection and the other one is connected through the web connection. So that's it. So these are the two users who are actually connected to our SSL VPN portal. So that makes it the final step of this lab 4. So all is good so far. So we are now done with this series of video under FortiGate certificate with AGCS. So I hope this video was interesting. You saw all the use cases. So there are multiple and many other use cases that you can you can implement depending on your infrastructure and the requirement that your users they need. There are a lot of use cases for ADCS, either it being related directly to the FortiGate or for any other uses, for maybe securing applications developed by your software engineer, or many other type of security. So guys, this makes it the end of this video. I hope this was interesting to you. Let me know in the comment section if you have any suggestion or any thought. So guys, stay tuned and let's meet in the next video.